Good morning, YouTube. This is Zephyr, and today I'm going to be doing an unofficial first impression review type deal while playing the game of Path of Exile 2. Now, a fair bit of warning. I was not a Path of Exile 1 enjoyer. I did not love it, but I liked it, and I tried to get into it multiple times. And I have beaten the game, campaign-wise, multiple times with different characters, because that's the primary part of the Diablo-like genre that I enjoy the most, is creating new characters and playing them all the way to the end. But because I love Diablo-likes, I had to try Path of Exile 2. I love many, many, many of the things that they've done here, so it's not going to be all cons. There's definitely going to be some strong pros here, and I'll give you a review as best I can for you to make a judgment call on whether or not this is a game for you, and why I have issues with it, but my issues may not be yours. So, I'm going to be playing the Mercenary. I played with some of the Mercenary's skills on a previous character. Let's see here. I hope no one has that name. Okay. So first of all, this opening scene is great. It's just good. I like it. It's great. If you're coming to this channel, you're going to be probably hoping for some mechanical overview and insights, and that is what I hope to bring to you. So I have some notes about my experience so far. And I have put about 10 hours into the game. I have beaten only the first act. I have played about 50% of my time with one friend and 50% of the time on my own to get some experience with both. First of all, I love WASD movement. WASD movement, absolutely wonderful. It's something I have loved in the past for other games. I'm going to be making a lot of very strange comparisons here to well, it probably will be strange to you. There is an old game now that I loved in the past. I'm not going to be paying too much attention to the characters talking here. That never really got a lot of content to it other than just kind of repeating the same content. But that game was Spiral Knights. And in my opinion, Spiral Knights did so many good things for game design, but just never expanded upon having just more. It was a very simple game. It was a relatively short game, but it had some really fun aspects and design pieces. So I'm going to be comparing some of that to that. WASD movement was in Spiral Knights as well. And just for reference, Spiral Knights has things like swords and guns and bombs and stuff like that. And so you had movements like this, totally. Something else in Spiral Knights that I really enjoyed, of course, was the active blocking that game had. And so Path of Exile 2 actually does have active blocking. And so I really approve of this. I'm glad that a Diablo-like finally has this in it. And just to mention this gun, or not gun, it acts like a gun. It totally basically is a gun. You reload it. It has ammunition based on the skill equipped. I only have this one skill. Absolutely wonderful. I'm actually going to just duplicate that over there because, yeah. I've been playing with my keybinds because with WASD movement, I'm not sure where I want to put my fingers as I play the game. Where'd the map go? Oh, north. So there is a dodge roll in this game. Personally, not a big fan of dodge rolls. I like them in Dark Souls and such. I don't like them in aRPGs unless they're stylized to the character. And there are some aspects of that in Path of Exile. I know that either the Sorceress or the Witch in the gem screen, I don't have a gem screen, I'll get there, has the ability to replace their dodge roll with a teleport. I think that's cool. I think that's thematic. I would probably argue it should probably come out sooner. Here we go. So we got fragmentation rounds. What does this thing do? Let's put this here. And let's put that there. There we go. It's kind of a multi-shot ability. Cool. There's checkpoints in the game. Things respawn if you die. Items disappear if you die. I like this, personally. I've seen some commentary of people not liking the fact that items on the ground disappear if you die. I think it's fair. I think softcore versus hardcore permadeath should still have some punishment. So, you know, whether it be experience loss or resetting a certain portion of the stage, I don't think you should lose hours upon hours upon hours if you're in softcore. You know, you want to do that, go play hardcore permadeath, right? But items on the ground disappear and you'll respawn at the checkpoint. Checkpoints also refill your mana, your life, and your energy shield. We still have Scrolls of Wisdom for identifying items. I enjoy that. Here, the game does give some basic tutorial at the beginning. I think this is totally okay. I know a lot of people really don't like intrusive tutorials, but it's basically press a button, this goes away, and that's kind of okay. And you can turn it off. You can turn off the tutorials. So I think once you turn it off for one character, it's gone for good. I didn't turn it off because I want to experience those things. I want to see them. I want to see how they executed those decisions, basically. So there. That time it didn't pause, but it told me to use my life flask. You know, that kind of stuff. So I'd love to get an uncut skill gem for this video. Hopefully I do. So things to talk about. The game is really pretty. But I'm also on really low graphics. And I'm testing out Vulkan today. Vulkan API. Instead of DirectX 12 and DirectX 11, which I've both used. And the game is relatively heavy. And I know people with much better computers are also saying similar things. So this is an early access issue, I think, primarily. I don't think this is something that's going to last forever. Switch R. Switch. There we go. The fact that you can switch back and forth. He's got a stagger bar. We just hit a stagger bar on him. You know, that can be pretty fun. I think the bosses are fun. A lot of them are kind of heavy into the dodge roll of a skill shot, a line attack of some form. But I've only played up through Act 1, so I can only give opinion on that so far. Bloated Miller is almost identical to the first little tutorial boss of the first game, Hillock. And no big surprise there. Except for that, you know, he's got to have an attack that teaches you to use your dodge roll. There we go. Oh, loot right there was actually pretty good. Put that on. We've got a lesser mana flask. Let's see what it is. Less mana charges, less for charges per use. Good stuff. We'll sell the rest here. We got currency. So they still have currency, but they do now have gold. That's a lot of gold. I don't remember having that much gold last time I started a character. Skill trees are still kind of the passive skill tree. I love ascendancies. Ascendancies really give a lot of character. I can't see ascendancies here, I don't think. I don't think there's a button for it unless I actually have points to spend. So if you're not familiar with Path of Exile, there are kind of like story quests that give you ascendancy points, which are on this tree, but they're kind of in the center here. And they redefine your character to be like basically immune to fire or having an incredible amount of charges of something like endurance charges or power charges or whatnot. But a lot of these early points, I didn't like this in the first game, so I'm going to rag on it here. I'm sorry. But a lot of these points are just, they're not interesting. It's just damage. It's just damage progression. And the tree has a lot of what I would consider a lot of filler. These nodes, however, these kind of medium nodes, and then the much bigger nodes that you're going to hunt down and build a build around, those are the ones that are interesting, and those are the ones I really enjoy. There's just a lot of stuff that you have to move through to get to it. So my other character is level 18 or 19, and so has like some of these side node areas kind of unlocked, but only a little bit. Only a little bit. So like these can be interesting, 5 strength, 5 dexterity, those are really powerful. Some changes that they did to the tree, some pros, if you will, is these attribute nodes are now universal. So I don't have an extra point here, but if I did, I could select, say, dexterity, and this would turn green, and I'd be able to learn dexterity there. So you're not forced into a lot of the stats that you previously were pushed into. However, the stats, if we go to the character screen here, they no longer give any secondary effect. Strength only gives health unless otherwise determined to give something further. So that's going to be more on your character builds, more on these special nodes, these bigger nodes. Are there keystone nodes? There's like a keystone node. Capstone or keystone. I don't remember what they call them. I think it's keystone. But yeah, you take more, or you take less damage from hits while dodge rolling, but you can't avoid damage. Stun threshold is double, but you can't dodge roll. Stuff like that. These are the things that you build around. Those are the really super fun ones. You can't use life flasks if you have this one, stuff like that. But anyways, stat nodes no longer give, so like strength doesn't give melee damage like it did in the first game, or dexterity doesn't give evasion rating, and intelligence doesn't give energy shield. I think this is a kind of a cool change and test. So we got 10% projectile damage. Exciting, right? I think this is a cool change to the stats, to have them be a little bit more generic, more available for sure, and have them do just kind of your basic stuff. You still have gem requirements. So red gems still require strength. Heavy melee weapons and stuff are still going to require strength. My crossbow is 50-50 strength and dexterity, or at least later crossbows will be. This one is a makeshift and has no requirements to it. There we go. We've got an uncut skill gem. We'll accept a quest. NPCs are not super intrusive. You can kind of talk to them and skip through, which is fine. For those that want to do something and those that don't want to do something, you can do different things there. So you can salvage stuff, kind of expected. So like if we salvage can we salvage this? No, I don't. I've never actually used the salvage. Can we salvage that? No. Only items with quality or sockets. That's probably why I haven't used it. I've only found a handful of items with sockets. And then she can disenchant items. General tip, if you are playing the game, I wouldn't say disenchant things early on. You want that money. You do get slightly more money when selling. If you identify stuff, it's not always a perfect guarantee of more money. These cost like 25. Right, there we go. And the game is fun. Like, I don't want to just sit here and say the game is unfun, these things are terrible. No, the game is fun. I've got my own beefs with every game, right? That's why I made this channel partially, is I want to talk about game mechanics, and I have beefs with everything because I'm that person. But anyways, let's go into the skill menu here. So we can get like armor-piercing rounds or explosive grenades. I want explosive grenades. I've played with this one before, so we will put that on here. And we'll go out the door. I'll talk while I play. Get some action in here. So some pros. Like I said, game is pretty fun. The game is pretty. And I think the changes to gems here, and I'm going to try to show them off a little bit. Having this skill book is super interesting and more interesting to me than the original game's system of... I can't use these grenades very well. The skill book system, and I even have it on B for book, because I'm an old school player with Diablo 1. I think B was for book there, and I just wanted to do that. Whoa! Damage is really high, and I'm okay with that. I know some people might say, oh, it's too hard. Damage is really high, and I think that's fine, as long as it's not one-shots everywhere. And there's a bunch of boss hits that I felt like were kind of one-shots all the time. I can't quite get a stun off on any of these enemies, but we'll get there. Outside of specific abilities, time to kill is a bit high as well. I dislike this. I think anything over about 4 hits is excessive, unless it's like an elite, you know, blue or yellow, or a named enemy of some kind. So a white enemy that takes 7-8 hits, and I've run into this, a white enemy that takes 7 or 8 hits just feels annoying. So like, these are trash mobs, right? And they take 2 or 3 hits. That's fine, right? Okay. Anyway, let's see here. What are some of my notes on gems here? Gems are great in the sense that you can... I'm not sure what the right button is here. You can select them and put them move them around. You can, you know, unequip them. They relate to these buttons down here, so you do have a maximum number of slots. I'm not sure how that relates to the maximum number of things here. But you do have a maximum number of slots, and they're interesting. And weapons have like their default attack. So like, I was wearing a staff with the sorceress, and I had like lightning strike or lightning bolt, which comes down from the sky, which also means that I can use it kind of with line of sight, but with like a wall or a railing or something in between, which was cool. You know, that makes sense. It's what you'd expect. But you can now augment with support gems without having to do like a 5-link, tabula rasa, something in here. But you can automatically link stuff here. And then as the gem levels up, which they don't level up with experience anymore. I'll get on that. As the gem levels up, you then have more slots, and you can get some stuff in there. You are limited to 1 gem per character. That was something I noticed instantly. So if you have a support gem, you can only put it in 1 of these slots. When you go to the cut screen, you can actually can kind of see that more. So you actually upgrade gems by sacrificing uncut gems, which is a little different. But it's a little slow, gem performance and stuff, and it's not just like damage so much that I feel like the game is slow, is that there's a lot of just really slow movement and really large maps, and not a lot in between. It's got kind of the MMO issue, in my opinion, where or like open world game kind of issues, more so than it doesn't have to be an MMO, where there's just like a lot of open space. And I know a bunch of people are already talking about this, and some people are saying, of course, that's what the game is meant to be, and other people are saying, well, I don't like it. And I would say that, you know, some of the maps are giving Diablo 2 Hell difficulty a run for their money. And those are pretty big maps. But if you like that, that's fine. I'm not here to tell you what to like, right? I'm just here to kind of talk about the mechanics and tell you what is. And, you know, throw an opinion on that. I think maps are a little large in some places. I don't think all of them are huge, but I only made it to Act 2 and did like the first couple quests there.
I'm starting to get the hang of this.
Okay, we got a helmet, some bracers. I'll go with armor over energy shield for the moment at least. Got some damage. That's actually a really good ring. I'm not casting anything. Okay, so I'm just going to do this for example. We're going to just do dexterity. We get it. It's universal. It's cool. I like that. As long as you're getting lucky or playing the right classes, enemies' health isn't that big of a problem. And I just think movement is a bit slow. But it's not just movement, it's progression. Now, I've modded Diablo 2 for something like 10 years, and I have my own opinions on like how progression should work. But one of the things is that in a game like this, progression is completely random. So you're getting your skill gems from drops, and your skill gems are related to the level of enemy that drops them. But they're pretty few and far between, so if you make a skill gem, especially a support gem, and then don't like it, it hinders you quite heavily. Which can feel really frustrating for a new player, especially if you're coming to this game from maybe another game that like isn't Path of Exile 1. There we go. I was like, he's in here somewhere.
Eat this.
I like boss battles. I'm a big fan of Dark Souls in general. So we do have, I don't see a fog wall here, but, oh, there is one. It's invisible. Sometimes it's colored, though. I've seen actual, you know, walls there. Basic combat, but it's a lot of, there's definitely a lot of encouragement to roll. A lot of movements are very roll heavy. I'd like to see some of that toned down personally. But if that's your thing, go for it. This game is for you. Of course, there's stuff in the way. Some of the animations feel sluggish too. It's not just the game feels sluggish. It's just that everything feels slow. Even with faster cast speed or faster attack speed, just things feel really slow. And I don't mean like, oh, they're 20% slower. I mean like they're 80% slower. So, I don't know. But I've beaten that to a pulp here. So let's talk about something else. Looking away from the screen, hoping I'm not going to get hit by something. Get out of my way.
Look out. Here it comes.
Just want the ads to get out of my way. Okay, we'll just do this. We'll just use the grenades here. They're fun anyway. There we go.
Need more time.
I think rolling needs some quality of life. I know some people are talking about phasing. I don't know that I want phasing on the roll. I know You know, like most situations of like Dark Souls, you're going to have phasing on the roll, but I just want it to feel cleaner a little bit. And one of the things is getting surrounded by enemies. If you're big and fat and heavy and wearing heavy armor and have a giant hammer and stuff like that, I think that there should be some kind of weight mechanic, maybe. Rumor has it, it technically is there. I'm sure the physics engine has it. Should roll into that, not away from it. Oh, stop hiding. But rolling, I think, should just have a little bit more weight to it in some fashion, where if you get caught in a bunch of these dudes, you kind of get stuck. And I'm okay with getting stuck if, you know, if you make a mistake, it's one thing to get stuck. But enemies can push you around. And I feel like you can't push them around nearly as much as they can push you around. Even these small maggots can probably push me around pretty heavy. And I just think that more of the player basic mechanics need to be polished. And that's an early access thing. I'm sure they'll get to it. Make their own decisions, obviously. So we finally killed that while I kept looking away and not paying attention to what I'm doing here. Portals are free now, so you don't have to worry about that. Not a big issue to me either way. Most Diablo-likes make portals free nowadays. But yeah, on the rolling, I think that they could just kind of tweak some stuff on that to make it feel a little cleaner. I don't think phasing should be how they do that. I think you should get stuck with enemies around you and that you should have to take your time. That is definitely the direction that this game has taken. It is slower, but a game can be slow without feeling like a slog. I think those are very different things. And I think that just having certain quality of life changes will make the game not feel like a slog while still being, you know, methodical and slower. And the maps could shrink by, I don't know, 10, 20% and still be quite large, stuff like that. So in closing, I think the game is good. I think the game is good. Is it going to get me to play 1,000 hours? Probably not. I didn't play 1,000 hours the first game. I played a few hundred over the course of a long time. Is it fun? Absolutely. If you like this kind of thing, I think it's fun. Is it going to be successful? It already is. And I think it's going to be successful for sure. But yeah, I think a patch after the first week of some balanced things or some quality of life stuff, some graphics optimizations are going to make this game feel so much better. I think a lot of these issues are going to be taken by the devs. The devs are great. They're very personal and communicative to their audience, and I, you know, I aspire to be that kind of dev, you know, in my own life, in my own career. So, you know, good job to the devs. I'm not here to destroy your game. I'm just talking about how I feel about different things, you know? So, a friend of mine showed me this. I'm gonna see if I can do this. There we go. So this right here, maybe we can make that a little larger. There are some drops that don't quite make sense, and this is one of those drops. It's an item, and this again, really up to interpretation of what should and shouldn't be. But my friend was highly disappointed when they found this. They were excited to see a chaos damage bow, and they were excited to see that damage increase. But to see them together was highly disappointing, and felt like it just didn't make any sense to him. Just kind of, it felt like it shouldn't be capable of rolling there. And I would agree there are some stats that maybe are too small as well in the early game. I like bigger stats. So, you know, if you're getting 12% mana regeneration from an item, I don't care for it, because if you need the mana regeneration, you're most likely going to wear a 30% amulet that doesn't even have to be magical. Or you might even be a casting character that, well, has access to that on the skill tree. And while that's basically one skill point, it doesn't really feel that great. It just doesn't. There is another quality of life thing, is you can't see the gem cutting screen, I don't think, in any way without having a gem to cut. But that's just kind of an unofficial playthrough kind of thing. Thanks for stopping by. I hope you enjoyed some of my ramblings. I hope it gave you some level of introduction to this game, as well as some of the current pros and cons of both the game itself, as well as the early access state of the game. Until next time, take care.